Hey guys, it's Carla from Reading Noodle. Thank you for coming and joining the blog and taking a look at our phonics and how important phonics is. So I'm going to give you quick little tutorials about how to teach phonics, sound by sound, spelling words by just focusing on the sound spelling pattern you're working on that week, or by whole word reading. There's several ways to teach phonics, and today I'm going to focus on those three to be exact. So hang in there for a second and I'll get you started on our first sound by sound. So I've got written here, normally you'd have a sound spelling card out. I just decided to just write it on this fun pencil board. The slash marks identify what the sound is. So you're not saying A, you're saying A. That means short A. And then this means CH. So CH says ch, but it can be spelled two ways. It can be spelled CH or TCH. So we'll start up here with the easier word for kiddos. The first word is cat, but if you're teaching them sound by sound, you are only going to point to each sound and wait until their voice says it. So you will point and they'll say k, a, t. And once they can say all the sounds easily, then you slide your finger and you say, that's a prompt for them to say cat. So all your hand motions are prompts. Tapping under each word, sliding it. Those are all visual prompts for them so that they know exactly how to say the sounds and what you are looking for them to do. Then say that this is a harder word. Maybe you're focusing on the ch sound that week, okay? And it can be spelled two ways. So then you're gonna focus a, and since it's a chunk, I always put like 2 fingers or my thumb or just like longer, but you can just tap under the sound if that's easier. And just have them say the sound ch. Okay, so they just look at the underlined part and notice each word I've underlined the sound we're working on, so it's really easy visual cue for your kiddos to see, oh, that's the sound I need to focus my eyes on. So you go a, ch, and then you slide it and your child says match. All right, the second way to do this is to do just a sound chunk. And that means you would just point to the underlined portion of the word and have them say that sound. So I will give you an example of that in a minute. But just be aware that if your child is struggling, always stick with sound by sound until they can confidently move to the next way of blending. So here is the number 2 way of learning how to blend. If they're a little bit more advanced or sound by sound is way too easy, this is a perfect way to help them navigate that. Okay, we're going to stick with the same words. So once again, you've got the sound, so you remind them, and they should have a spelling card, but that's okay. You can do it this way too. We're focusing on the a sound, and then they find it in the word. It's already underlined. And then all you're going to do is point to that sound. And you're going to wait for them, give them about 3 seconds if they need it, but say, what is this sound? And they should say, ah. And then you're going to point to the whole word and say, okay, now think of the whole word in your head. Don't say it yet. And give them about 3 seconds. And then say a cue, like when I snap my fingers, tell me the word, or when I tap my head, tell me the word, something to keep them engaged. Okay, and then they should look at it and go, cat. So that's how this one is different. They didn't need you to touch each sound. They're already doing that in their brains. So you're focusing on just the sound of the week, and then you don't need to slide it necessarily, giving them about 3 seconds to think of the word in their head, read it, and read it out loud. Same with the ch sound. Okay, so you would just touch under the TCH and say, what does this say? Ch. They should say ch. Then you're going to say, okay, now think of the whole word in your brain. Give them 3 seconds, and then you give your cue. Snap, match. And that is exactly how you do that type of blending. Okay, the last type of blending that I'm going to talk to you about is called whole word blending. Now this is more for an advanced student who is doing great, doesn't need help. Maybe it's more just a review for them, but this is a great way to just practice and seeing if they can just read the word. So again, you remind them of the sound of the week, have them say it. We're working on the short A, it says ah. Then you're just going to remind them, okay, look at the underlined sound. It's right there, it's underlined. And then all you're going to do is point to the word and say, think of the word. They're going to read it quietly in their head. And then you're going to give your cue, snap, tap your head, clap your hands, and they read the word, just like that with both words. Okay, so I also wanted to add in a couple engagement strategies you can use with your child that I used when I was teaching, and it really was, I had all my kids on a rug and they were really engaged, but you can do it with your kids too. So I called it, I learned this from my mentor teacher when I was student teaching, and it's called the pinky microphone. And she would just tell them you have a little tiny microphone and you don't want your neighbor to hear you. And you also, I mean, you're not going to necessarily have neighbors next to your kids, I guess. Maybe you are teaching more than one child, but it's just a fun way to engage them. So they have their little microphone and they cover it up. And then as they're reading the words on the board, this can be backwards, but as they're reading it, however way you choose to blend, they can think, okay, cat, cat. And sometimes they'll be loud enough, especially if they're right next to you, that you can hear them and you can catch their sounds. So at least you're hearing, oh, that's where they're making a mistake. And that's okay. You don't have to stop them while they're practicing, but once they say the word, you'll notice the mistake and be like, oh, let's go over the sounds again. So maybe they're missing the k sound and they need help. Go back and really practice the k sound. And that's okay. That's a great way for you as a parent to kind of like secretly hear mistakes if they're making them. And it was just a really fun engagement strategy for my students. They always like would dust off their microphones and they get ready. And it was super helpful. I also had them whisper to a neighbor the word sometimes. Once again, that might not be an option for you. Bring a stuffed animal to the table or wherever you're working and have that be like your reading buddy, you know. Have their little stuffed animal there and you can say, whisper to your stuffed animal the sounds, cat, and then say the word, cat. Whatever you can do to engage them and get them excited and involved is a great way. I mean, I'm all for anything to keep those littles involved and engaged.